Hello, my name is Pablo Pasos. I am the architect behind the EHR server, and this is a small overview about the EHR server and the Cloud EHR server. That is basically the EHR server as a service. So first, to understand what the EHR server is and what is the main idea or the main point behind the EHR server, and who should use the EHR server, we need to think about how we create clinical information systems today. A lot of development companies that work in the healthcare domain are creating new applications, mobile applications, web applications, to record clinical information and to share clinical information between different providers. The one common thing between most of those developments is that they need to have some kind of solution for the clinical data storage. And the second common thing is that most of those developments, most of those solutions are created and are designed with custom clinical data storage. So on every new application, on every new system, the developers need to design a custom data storage for that specific application. So that is an issue, thinking that maybe they are solving the same problem a lot of times. And what we propose here is to have a better solution, to have one tool that can be used on many systems that provides a generic way that is based on standards and open technologies, open formats, to store any kind of clinical information, clinical data structure. So that is basically the role of the EHR server, is to allow you to put your resources on giving your customers, your users, more functionality, better ways to solve their problems, instead of focusing on the clinical data store and the backend. That is the role of the EHR server. So using the EHR server will allow you to focus on those areas. So that is the main value that the EHR server can add to your developments. And the EHR server is a tool for development companies that are working on the healthcare domain, or for organizations or institutions that provide health services that have development teams inside the organizations. So they are working on internal systems, and they will find the EHR server interesting to integrate into their projects. The EHR server is open source itself, can be downloaded and installed on any machine and used without any charge. And we have the Cloud EHR server that is the software as a service version of the EHR server. So you can pay for this service that is a managed server on the internet. So you don't have to worry about managing versions or managing your infrastructure. That is the main goal of the Cloud EHR server, to provide that part of the management ourselves, and you just use the application. So what is the EHR server? I told you that is for clinical data store. That is generic. You can store any kind of clinical data structure. And it is highly maintainable. You can change, or you can add more structures dynamically without changing the source code or the database structure. So you add more data that you want to store in the EHR server from a user interface. So it's easy as that. So it's highly maintainable. It's performant, it's secure, it's scalable. You can use it to be a clinical data store for a small mobile application or for your full EHR. You can even use it as a backup server for your clinical information. So that is another use case, and can be integrated into any kind of application or system, because it has a REST API, so you can connect it to any application. You can store data, you can query data from that API very easily. It's a matter of minutes, really, to develop an integration to the EHR server. The API has a full documentation. You can visit our site. CaboLabs is my company. We developed the EHR server, and if you go to the EHR server page, here below is the full EHR server guide, and here is the REST API documentation. So it's very easy. This is complete, has examples, and all the code is available. So it's very easy to integrate in minutes. It doesn't require weeks to learn how to integrate the EHR server into your developments. And it's based on open source technologies, is based on open standards, and on open formats. So there is nothing in the EHR server that it constrains you to access your information, your data. So you can access everything. To be open and to be transparent is key for the EHR server development and the business model, really. And the way you can use the EHR server now is to become a beta partner. You can go to the CloudEHRServer website, and here on the beta partner section, you have information about the beta partners program. We don't have yet a set of plans that you can buy openly. We will set up that later. I think it will be at the end of the year. Right now we are on beta, and we want to partner with companies and with developers that see value on this tool. And what we offer here is to transfer all the knowledge that you need to use the EHR server efficiently on your applications, and help you integrate the EHR server into your developments. So we can help you on creating a small prototype, a proof of concept project, so you can learn how to use it. And you also get discounts on our courses. From CaboLabs, we offer different education opportunities. So here we have courses and we have workshops about healthcare information systems, standards, interoperability, technologies, tools, methodologies, etc. And you get, by being part of the beta partner program, you get discounts on these courses. So you can just visit our site and check our courses and workshops here. We mainly work with openEHR, HL7, DICOM, all those standards. And you just need to fill in the form to request to be part of the beta partner, and we will send you all the information. Just visit this page. Also, on this website, you can find a lot of guides and use cases. So here we have all the use cases that we could think of that can be managed by the EHR server in an efficient way. But this is not complete. It's just to give you an example of what the EHR server can do and how it can be used. So check them out. I am doing small videos about each one of these and showing different ways of using the EHR server. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video about clinical decision support, so you can find that in YouTube. I can link it in the comments. So we have a lot of information here. And if you want to test it without being part of the beta partner program, we have a staging server that we use for testing purposes, and it's free to you can create an account and use the EHR server. You have also on this page a small demo about the EHR server, so you can actually test the EHR server while you are watching the demo. And I will do just a small demo to let you know how the EHR server looks and how it can be used. But this is not about showing you all the features about the EHR server, just an overview of the value the EHR server can add to your next project. So here I am on the staging server, the development server. You can create an account here. And this is for testing purposes. So it might be a little slow. We have a production server where things run much faster, and all the beta partners will have accounts on the production server. So that is another thing to consider. So you have a dashboard here. You are an administrator. The EHR server has three parts: the database, where all the clinical information is actually stored; a REST API, where all your applications and systems can integrate and talk to the EHR server and store data and query data. And the web console, that is the administration user interface. So this is not for end users, it's for administrators and clinical data managers to use, so they can audit all the EHRs stored here, all the clinical documents. They can detect problems. They can see all the logs of the clinical documents and the EHRs that were modified. And you have all the logs about who modified what, at which date, etc. So you have all the information here. This manages organizations, so it's multi-tenancy. If you are a development company and you want to have several customers, EHRs on the system, you just create an account for your company that will be one organization, and then you can create one organization for each one of your customers, and all the EHRs and all the clinical data for those customers will be separated. So they won't be allowed to see each other's clinical information. So that is managed here from the web user interface. Also, you have the user management. You can manage users from your organizations. You can manage the roles of those users. I'm logged in right now as an admin role, so I can see everything. I can do anything here. The EHRs, so basically the EHRs are a container of clinical documents, and you can add a new EHRs from the user interface, from the web console, or you can create new EHRs from the REST API. So your applications can create EHRs in the EHR server. We don't have demographic information here, so all the clinical information is anonymous. That is a requirement for privacy and security. So you need to have the demographic information about your patients in another system, in another database. And the way we can link those records together is by what we call the subject ID. Is really a patient ID that is a nonsense really identifier. This is not the social security number or the a national card ID, etc. It's just an internal ID that allows your system to link demographic information like the patient's name, the date of birth, etc., with the clinical record. It's just that. The contributions are the logs of all the changes that were done to each EHR. So when you add a new document to an EHR, that is a contribution. and you can see all the contributions here. You can see the details of each contribution, the time where those contributions were committed. This allows you to track and audit all the changes to each EHR and detect problems. Yeah, maybe someone added a document to an EHR that was the wrong EHR, etc. So you can detect those situations here. You also have the clinical documents here. Since I am an administrator, I can see all the clinical documents that are contained in all the EHRs in the EHR server. And one key thing of the clinical documents is that are all versioned. So you can create a new document and from an external application, and then if the document had incorrect information or had missing information, you can create a new version of the document and commit that to the EHR server, and the EHR server will link both versions together. So you can track all the versions of your clinical documents since clinical documents can't be modified really. So what we do is we store all the versions. And here you can see each clinical document, and if you access one clinical document, you can see all the versions. Here it is, this clinical document just has one version, and you can see the contents in the source format, that is XML, or the contents in a nice view. So this is basically a style sheet applied to the XML with nonsense data, because this is a test server. Directory allows you to organize clinical documents in folders inside the EHRs. Basically, it's just an organizational feature. And the queries allow you to create queries, data queries, to get data out from the EHR server without the need of writing any kind of source code or SQL queries. So all the queries are created from a user interface. From here, we have a query builder. Let's say I want to query for vital signs, and this can be done by a clinician, or this can be done by an administrator. And here the queries are done not based on the data structure of the database, are done based on clinical concepts. Like you select, I want blood pressure, okay, and inside blood pressure we have systolic. Okay, I want that. I want diastolic. Okay, great. The height. Okay, I want the height of the patient, and I want the measure of the height to be returned. Okay, I add the weight, and I want the measure of the weight to be returned. Okay, and I select the output format. I select how the information will be grouped, and I can test this query. This is a query on the EHR server, and in less than 10 seconds, I can create a query. I can select one of the EHRs that are created on the EHR server. I can execute the query. I can get the data out, and you can see here, I see this is diastolic, and I can see values of the diastolic. Don't pay attention to the values. The values are just random values for testing. You can see the units, and you can see a timestamp. So this is really a nice time series for one specific measure, vital sign in this case. And since all this is numeric, and we have information about the timestamps where that information was created, the EHR server creates a nice chart for you, so you can check if that information is correct. And if that information is correct, remember, you are an administrator. You are not an end user of the system. You will create, you're a development company, or you have a development team inside your hospital or your clinic. You want to create systems that get this information outside the EHR server, and you can chart this information in your application for your end users. This is just to check that the query gives you the right information out. And if it is correct, you can just click on create, and the query will be created. After the query is created, you can execute the query from the REST API. is just this. I create this, and I can call this query from the REST API, and I can see this information, this vital signs. Just changing the EHR ID, I can get the vital signs of every EHR that I am that I have permission to see. So all the EHRs are associated with organizations, and all the users are associated with organizations. If you are logged in as a user for organization A, you won't be able to get information from the EHRs of the organization B. That is the main concept we use for multi-tenancy and security. And the templates is so you can create queries in seconds, and you can execute those queries from external applications and get that information out the EHR server. It's that easy. And as you can see, you can create all the queries you want to get different kinds of information out. It's just what you need. It's very flexible, and you don't need to touch or change any source code in the system. The templates is the other part that gives the ability to create queries, is where you manage all the clinical structure definition. And templates is an element from the openEHR standard. If you don't know openEHR and you are working on the healthcare domain and you are developing software in the healthcare domain, you should read about openEHR. And you have a nice overview on the openEHR.org website, what is openEHR and who is using openEHR. So check those two links, and it will give you a quick overview of the openEHR standard. This is a foundation that maintains a standard for healthcare information systems, and we in the EHR server, we implemented that standard. So the template is really an openEHR definition of a clinical document that contains structure, contains constraints, contains terminology associated with your clinical structures, and contains semantic definitions. And that is the power behind the queries. That is why you can create queries in seconds, because all the data is defined, the clinical concepts and the data points is defined on templates. And from here, you can upload your own templates, and there are open tools to create your own templates and to create your own clinical data structures. It is very easy to create. And you can find the tools on the openEHR website. You just go to tools, modeling tools, and you will have here the template designer. That is the tool to create templates. And after you create a template, you upload your template here, and you will have a new clinical data structure supported by the EHR server. And after that, you can commit data that is compliant with your definition, and you can create queries based on your clinical data definition. So that is to give you a quick overview of what the EHR server can do for you, what value can add to your business, to your developments, and a quick overview of what you can do through the web console, the web administrative console. If you have any questions, comments, you can contact me through the CloudEHRServer site, through the contact form, or through the CaboLabs site. You have also a contact form here, and you have all the social networks down below here. So that's it for now. My name is Pablo Pasos, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Bye-bye.